you don't know about flyer deals on Instacart, this message is for you. Flyer deals are like strolling through your favorite store looking for deals, but you're scrolling your phone, and maybe you're in bed. Because getting delivery doesn't mean you have to miss deals like you'd get at the store, like the one creamer that doesn't make your stomach hurt, or the pasta sauce you can't not buy when it's on sale. So download the Instacart app, shop flyers, and never miss a deal on one of your favorites. Plus, get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes.
Blog Talk Radio.
The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. This week's special guest will join us a bit later. But first up is another great discussion on Coach's Corner. So let's introduce tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
All right, good evening, everybody, and once again, welcome to Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico, and it's another Thursday evening here on the blogtalkradio.com network, and always excited to do these evening shows particularly, and always excited to have a couple of great professionals to join me on the Coach's Corner panel, and I'll introduce those gentlemen in just a moment. And then a little bit later on, as Andrew had mentioned, we're going to be joined by my very special guest this evening is Elliott Sullivan. He's the Golf Operations Director at WinStar Golf Club in Oklahoma. He's going to be joining me here a little bit later on in the broadcast. But thank you, everybody, for joining me live. We are live every Thursday evening from 6 to 8 p.m. Central here on the blogtalkradio.com network. And for some reason, if you're not able to join us live, not to worry. Just go to blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live. Scroll down to the on-demand section, and all of the shows that are live are also auto-recorded, so you can listen to them when it's convenient for you. But thanks for joining us live for those of you that can make it. All right, got two great guys joining me on the panel tonight. First up is John Hughes. He's a PGA Master Professional and the Honorary President of the North Florida PGA Section. He was also recipient of the 2013 PGA of America's Horton Smith Award. He's also a senior editor and Golf Tips Magazine Top 25 instructor and part of the Golf Tips advisory staff. Also joining on the panel tonight is another good friend, Pete Buchanan. He's the founder and director of instruction and owner of Plain Simple Golf LLC, which of course houses the Plain Simple Golf Circuit and the Simple Swing Repeater Training Brace. He's been helping golfers focus on building a repeatable swing, and he's been doing that for 30-plus years. So please welcome the guys to the panel tonight, John Hughes and Pete Buchanan. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ted.
Hi, Ted. Hi, Pete.
Hey, John.
All right, so Pete's going on holidays here in about a week's time. He's going to be heading down towards my neck of the woods. You were just telling us you're going to Rosemary Beach, you and your wife and another couple friend that are going to be down there as well. So you gonna leave the golf clubs at home, or are you bringing them with you?
Oh no, they'll stay home. These trips are all about doing nothing but vacation. So we'll arrive, put the keys in the bowl, and it said I'll be at the beach. So if you need to go somewhere, there's the car. So that's about it.
Yeah, I hear you, brother. That's the way to do it. That you got to have a little bit of vacation away from golf. As much as we love this great game, it's nice to get a little bit of a breather from it as well. All right,
Absolutely.
So guys, tonight we're going to talk about good stuff. Well, I hope you have a great time, and hopefully the weather will stay fantastic. It's been great down here the last several weeks. A little steamy, but that's all right. You're going to be on the Gulf of Mexico, so you'll be able to dip more than your toes in the water to cool off. All right, so guys, we're going to talk about what would make golf more fun. This is actually a conversation I had earlier in the week with my good friend Cindy Miller, and I thought this would make for some great discussion tonight on the Coach's Corner panel, especially with you two guys, because I know that fun is is part of your vocabulary as well when it comes to golf. And I'm going to start, John, if you don't mind, with you. And the first question is taking a golf vacation. There are many great places to go. Obviously, here in Florida where we are, and up north, Michigan is an example, especially in the summer. It's warm up there, and a lot of great courses to play. And, of course, the price is always right. I think playing a few days in a row can be good for your game. I think it's good to get out there and have some fun, obviously. But tell us about taking a golf vacation. What would you recommend, John, if one of your students came to you and said, you know what, I really want to do a golf vacation? What would you recommend, not necessarily where, but what would you recommend that they do, and how is it going to help them long term?
Great question. Thanks again, Ted, for the honor of being on the program. Pete, always looking forward to the lively conversation. My gut tells me there will be a lot of chuckles along the way today if we're talking about fun and vacations. Great question. I get this question asked a lot because of part of the nature of my business. People come to me for golf vacation, so I'm always asking them, what are they doing beyond just the golf? Before they show up, I want to know so I know how to plan the day. But while they're there in my company, I'm always asking, well, what did you do for dinner? What did your kid, if they brought kids, what did the kids do, or what did the spouse do, or if they're staying with somebody, what did you guys do with that? I think that's really the key. You can go almost anywhere in the world and play some phenomenal golf courses. And I would say even more importantly, have a phenomenal golf experience. You don't have to go to a top 25 course in the world to experience a fantastic golf experience, because the entire experience is partially off the golf course. What you're going to do before and after, where you're staying, all those other things make up the entire trip. But when I get the question, well, where should I go and play, I'm always asking people, I always turn around and say, well, what are you passionate about? Where have you not been? What's one of the bucket list things you'd like to do? And what's your budget? And normally the budget question can sometimes bring a downer to the conversation, but chances are either myself or one of my clients have been to these more budget-minded places, as well as the higher-end wish list places. It's just a matter of, I hate to use this term when we're talking about fun, because fun can definitely throw you out of balance, but look at everything and try to figure out what's a well-balanced vacation. I just recently took one back in June. First vacation I had in over 10 years, and it was golf related. I actually went to Casa de Campo in the Dominican Republic and played golf every other day. But the balance of what was planned was for my wife and I to just sit back and do something else besides golf, because I'm in the business. So, for my golf game, really helped out a lot because I don't get to play a lot, and that's something you have to, that was part of your question, how does it help your game? You have to decide that up front. Are you going to improve your game? Are you going to have fun with your game? Are you going to have fun with some friends with your game? Or are you just going to have some fun? And with the discussion we all had before we came on air, sounds like Pete's just decided he's going to have fun, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're going to take your clubs with you. So look for balance, look for fun, but stay within your means so you can have some fun. The worst vacation you can have is when you get home and you sort of knock yourself in the head going, what did I just do?
Some great points. Pete, I want to approach the same question a little bit differently with you. John certainly has raised a lot of great points, and I'm sure you feel the same with many of them as well. Maybe you have some other ones. The thing is really, you have to look at, there's a couple of different options really that you can do. Years ago I took a guy's trip. We went to Myrtle Beach, a premier place to go for golf if you just want to go and do nothing but golf. But as John pointed out, if you want to do some other things, there's other factors. I mean, obviously it is a golf vacation. You're going to play some golf, but you don't have to be limited to that. So if you were given the same option, a student or maybe a friend of yours that approached you and said, hey, Pete, you know what, I'd really like to put together a good golf vacation, what would you recommend? And what would you want them to really look for based on maybe their skill or their involvement in the game to begin with? What are your thoughts here?
Well, super question. And again, John, you're right. There will be some chuckles involved. I'm almost positive. So, if they're really looking to work on their game, I spent a long time, running golf schools. And, if they want to do some learning and playing and have a vacation, those are all wrapped up into one great package. And you talk about some great places to stay with some great food, some golf instruction, the golf, and...
If you don't know about flyer deals on Instacart, this message is for you. Flyer deals are like strolling through your favorite store looking for deals, but you're scrolling your phone, and maybe you're in bed. Because getting delivery doesn't mean you have to miss deals like you'd get at the store, like the one creamer that doesn't make your stomach hurt, or the pasta sauce you can't not buy when it's on sale. So download the Instacart app, shop flyers, and never miss a deal on one of your favorites. Plus, get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes.
At a reasonable price, those are some things that I would recommend if they're looking to work on their golf game. So they can get all of those things combined into one, depending on where they want to go. The other side of the coin, I really like what John said. I mean, what are they looking to do? I mean, is it a time to get away, to relax? Are there other things you want to do? I think you can always get a lot of things done in that vacation, but to a sense of trying to figure out, what is it really for? What's your vacation for? And so looking at that background, I think helps a lot. But I think from an overall golf standpoint, I mean, there's so many great places to go. There's so many packages that you can put together. I think I would figure out what part of the country they want to go to, and then start looking at what's available in those areas. So there's so many things. And we've done some great trips to Colorado, up in Michigan. Just some great places that you can get away and a lot of golf, a lot of fun. And I would even try to steer them maybe if they're interested to, a place they've never been before. Those are always fun too. Go to a different area of the country you've never been to. I'd love to go play some golf in Maine. I've never been there, but I'd love to go up there. Everybody tells me it's beautiful up there. So, that could be something from a, geography standpoint, or why don't you go somewhere you've never been? And, as long as it's, cost effective that they can do it. But no, it's kind of hard to put, everything together. But I think, in today's world with so many vacation planners and everything that's going on, I think you can really put together a great package, really depending on where you want to go and what you want to do from, if it's you have people that aren't playing golf that are coming along, there's great things that they can do as well. So, I think it's just a matter of finding out what they want to do and then helping them find that particular package or place and, go from there.
Yeah, great answer as well. A lot of great points. I think really when you look at it, there's a couple of factors, and I've sort of alluded to one of them. If you're doing a buddies trip, for instance, you might want to go somewhere like a Myrtle Beach where it's just nothing but golf. That's what you're doing, golf. You go out and eat and you get up and do the same thing, rinse and repeat, as it were. But there's also some great golf vacations, as both of you alluded to. If, let's say, your partner, let's say your wife, or in case of women, maybe their husband plays, and they've now, as more women come into the game and want to play, this is something, it's a great opportunity for them to take a nice vacation somewhere that they can do an activity together and have a lot of fun. And, maybe if they have a couple that they travel with, they can do it as a foursome and go and play some great places. And again, depending on their skill level, and that is going to also help to dictate where they're going to go. There's a lot of great courses out there that are very easy or friendly, golf friendly, if you will. and then there's others that are far more challenging. So you have to find what's going to suit your game. And that's maybe where your professional can help a little bit. They're kind of familiar with some of the bigger name areas and a lot of the resorts out there. So it might be a conversation if you're taking lessons from somebody to have a conversation with them and say, hey, we're thinking of taking a golf vacation. Our level of play. What are your thoughts here? So not to say that they're going to plan it for you, but that might be a place to start. So that's one area that I think that can help make golf a little bit more fun for everybody is to get out there now, especially since we've all been kind of cooped up for so long, dealing with the pandemic. People are itching to go somewhere and do something, and golf, fortunately, has worked and served very well for a lot of people, not just us in the business, but for everybody in general, because it's sort of got that built-in social distancing and allows us to be outdoors and enjoy the weather and everything else going on. So some great answers. All right, so having said that, John, we also got to work at developing a group of golfers that you really enjoy playing with. Maybe it might be a guy's trip or something. This is something, too, I think, at making fun, not just going on a trip, but just, for a lot of the new golfers, particularly that come out that don't know a lot of people, you got to put a little work into it to find a good group that you're going to enjoy playing with. What are your thoughts here?
That certainly helps, unless you plan on going it alone, which some people do. And Ted, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're interviewing well for my new marketing position with my golf schools here in Orlando. So keep talking the way you're talking. No, you do have to enjoy who you play golf with. There's some old sayings about a lot of different things with who you spend the most time with is who you're going to become and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, and I've been on these trips, one person can really set the whole thing in a reverse gear on you. Most of the time, if you're playing golf with a group of people locally, you're probably going to be okay if you get on a plane or in a car and go somewhere and play. But then again, I went to the Dominican on my own and found someone there to play with that I still keep in touch with a few weeks later, that we may catch up with spouses again and go somewhere else. So there's a lot of opportunity to meet new golfers. I always suggest to people, make a choice. Are you going on your own, or is this something that you're going to do as a group? And is this group compatible both on and off the golf course? Is it somebody that you've socialized with spouses and such? I've got a client who puts together 2 trips a year, one as a business venture, the other one as a social venture with his neighbors and friends. And he's always telling me that the business one is a little bit more high-pressured, not because everybody is or isn't a golfer, so much as they don't know each other. And you sort of go through those steps a little of trying to figure it all out and not upset the apple cart, where his fall trip, which is all his buddies, there's no holes barred because they play golf together all the time. They have cookouts at each other's homes. Their kids play with each other, that kind of thing. So, yeah, understanding who you're going with is certainly something important, unless you're going to go it on your own. In my case, it was purposely designed, hey, let me get away. I'm around people all the time. I just need some solitude, and you just never know who you might meet in that type of situation as well. Every place has the ability to accommodate you, whether it's a solo trip or a group trip. It's just a matter of asking the right questions as to what location's best going to suit you and or your group. And most group coordinators at golf resorts in particular, I deal with a lot of them across the country for years. They're really good at directing you as to, hey, you need this kind of accommodation or that kind of accommodation. You need to play this course versus that course, and let's have you play in the morning because your poker game starts at 3, or the wine tour starts at 9, so let's play at 3 kind of thing. These are, again, I'm going way off tangent here, but what I'm trying to basically say is everybody that you play with, there's something in common. Make sure that as you pick that place, you can keep those things in common.
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors when it comes to that, and I think you're exactly right. And when you're in a business environment, again, you may not be if it's clients and so forth that you may be playing somewhere, and you don't have the same rapport with them as you do your close friends and associates. So it is a little bit more. I could see where that would be for a lot of people a very pressure type situation. Pete, something else too that I think, at least for me, certainly may not be for everybody, but I think it's something you need to at least try once in your life if you have any interest in golf, and that is to watch a golf tournament in real time. And I don't mean on the television. We always see stuff on TV, but we don't really get to appreciate it. I used to, when I lived back up in Canada, used to go to the Canadian Open all the time, and of course I've been to PJ events here in the States as well. But I used to really enjoy every week, there was always different events playing in my area, not always PGA, but I would go to the PGA events when they were there, coming down to upstate New York as well. What are your thoughts here? This is something, too, I think that a lot of people could benefit from, and it is a lot of fun actually being there on the course or at the course, watching some of the best players, or even if it's some other competition, a state amateur or some other pro tournament, not necessarily PGA or LPGA, in your area. There's a lot of benefits that you can draw from that. Maybe you could talk about a few.
Oh, there definitely are. I get the question all the time because I'll have a lot of my clients that'll be going to an event and they'll ask me, what should I look for? And, I'll give them some things. Watch the short game, watch their routines, look how consistent they are. Go over to the driving range and watch them warm up, watch them practice, watch the guys practicing afterwards. Look at how diligent they are in the things that they do. And then when you're on the course watching them play, just watch how they play the game, their demeanors, how they handle themselves. Watch them around the greens, did you look at what they're trying to do. So I think they can learn a lot from just looking at how these players, present themselves as they go around the golf course. And from that point of view, as well as, I remember when the PGA came here and I had tickets for Sunday's round, and my son was like, I'm not really sure I want to go. And I said, you've got to come. I said, you've never heard a tiger roar before, so you have to experience that. The tiger was playing, and he was up towards the lead. And so we were sitting on 4 fairway, and, as the leaders came, all of a sudden you could just see a giant mob coming. And with every other player in the lead group, there was maybe, 10, 12 media, and with Tiger there was 200. Yep. So, and then the roar, it makes birdie, and the place just goes bananas. So, he was like, what an experience that was. If you've never heard that before, it's something that is totally different. So that, from a fan experience, we both had a great time with that. I've been around the game a long time, but those are things that are fun to do. I'm a little bit different when I go. I like to watch them practice. I'll go to the range and plant myself there for a while to see what they're doing and working on. But I know from a player standpoint, whether if you're just going to be a fan, try to find yourself a spot and move around a lot. I like. I don't like sitting in one spot for too long a time, but I like to move around and see as many players as I can and just kind of walk around and see what's going on. But there's a lot of great things to see and a lot of great things to learn from how the players, on any level, how they present themselves and how they work through in different situations and just getting an idea of how they play the game, which is really what it's all about. They're players. And so it's fun to watch people who, can really play exceptionally well. And how they move around the golf course.
Great points. I always love going, and it's like really any sporting event. There's an energy when you're right there in the thick of things. When you watch it on TV, it's certainly, when you watch something like the Super Bowl, it's certainly exciting, but it's even more exciting if you're up in the stands. Well, here, you get a chance, as you pointed out, you get to walk around, and what a great, if you really want to pick up some solid tips, do as what you suggested, Pete, and that is to go to the range or the practice area and watch these guys warm up. And just to share a little chuckle, if you will, back several years ago when John Daly, shortly after he first came on the scene, and he, of course, won the 91 PGA Championship, he was just a phenomenal player to watch. And he came up to the Canadian Open at Glen Abbey, and they used to have a trailer or RV at the end of the range on the other side of the fence. And, of course, John was a long ball hitter. And I swear he had to have done this on purpose, but he was off in the corner of one of the range because he was so long, and he was hitting on an angle. And about every second or third shot, you would hear it bounce off of this trailer. And eventually the guy that was in the trailer, I don't even know what the trailer was there for, the guy finally came out, and he had a radio in hand. He was calling somebody, and they had to get John to aim somewhere else because he was putting dents in the side of the guy's trailer. And, you know, it was just amazing to watch these guys. And as I said, I don't know whether he was doing that intentionally or not, but it was getting a lot of attention, to say it. But, you know, he would also work on his short game. And, you know, he not only was a long ball hitter, but he had a great finesse game with his wedges and even his putter as well. So, again, you can learn a lot from these guys. And just watching him on the range. And, you know, I had the pleasure of following a lot of some of the best players in the world around that golf course over the years, including Nicklaus and Trevino and many, many other top players as well. So a lot of great fun going to it, and I strongly encourage anybody tuning into the show tonight, if you get a chance, if you have not been one, or if you have a friend that has not been to one but is interested in golf, next time you attend it, invite them and bring them along, because I guarantee they're going to have a lot of fun. John, I want to talk about something a little bit different, and this may not be for everybody as well, but learning a little bit of the history of the game. I think anything that you have an interest in gets better the more you know about it. Understanding some of the history of golf will add to your enjoyment. A lot of people that love baseball, for instance, know a little bit about its history and enjoy it, and there's also some great golf writers out there that you can read up on as well that can talk to you a little bit about that, and you can read some great articles about the history of the game. What do you think about something like that? I mean, I'm not saying that you have to do a deep dive into necessarily the history, but I think understanding a little bit of the history of the game, how it got started, and just some of the overall history can also be a lot of fun too. What are your thoughts here?
Absolutely. The obvious places within the United States where there's a ton of history, Pinehurst, Pebble Beach, come to mind immediately, but then there's a ton of other smaller places that pack a wallop when it comes to history. Mm-hmm. Certainly places you can go and visit, have some fun, and see the smaller bits of the game. You want to venture out a little bit, cross the pond, go to Scotland, obviously, and St. Andrews and the things that go on there, and what they have to offer. But I think you can find a little bit of history in golf just in your local neighborhood, believe it or not. I'll give you an example. Years and years ago, the city of Wilmington, North Carolina, was thinking about either closing or redoing the golf course, and the entire city council wanted to close it. And someone found out it was a Donald Ross golf course, and it was one of the last ones he ever designed, and it was designed with certain machinery that was no longer available and so forth. And they ended up keeping the golf course. It's stellar, the way they've kept it going, not only from a condition standpoint of view, but from an operation standpoint of view. And they've embraced the fact that Donald Ross is the architect. And when you go into their clubhouse, at least the last time I was there a long time ago, you would actually see the various historical photos and such of that golf course. You'd be very surprised if you just looked around what history of golf may be lurking very close to you, and understanding it. Absolutely. I know I've grown a better affection and a better respect for the game, understanding its history and where we've come. You also get a little bit better understanding of the future of the game by understanding the history, why the technology is is doing what it's doing and how it can evolve the game while at the same time understanding and respecting the origins of the game for it to not become something that it was not necessarily never intended to be, but not necessarily to be as complicated as you might want to make it as technology allows us to evolve. So there's tons of history to be soaked up, and you don't have to go far. You can look local, but if you're looking for the bigger bite of the apple, the World Golf Village in St. Augustine, Kiowa Island, the 1991 Ryder Cup, that's historic. That's one of my favorite places to go. There's tons of places out there, and it doesn't take much to find them. You just have to be open-minded enough to say, you know what, this is part of the history of golf, and it's going to give you a better appreciation for everything about the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. And Pete, I think there's also I think what really makes it fun is developing an appreciation for the beauty and even the challenges that the golf course you're playing are going to provide. Mark Twain famously called golf a good walk spoiled. I don't believe that. I think you can make your golf a good walk made better by enjoying the surroundings on the golf course. Again, we around it quite a bit, so we understand maybe a little bit more than some. Obviously enjoying your playing partners, which we just talked about, but also accepting the challenges of the game. There are certainly challenges, we know that, and that's what we're here for, is to try and help people develop that. But maybe you could touch on a little bit of that, is helping people to understand really differently than many other activities. Golf provides a unique atmosphere with which we play. The golf courses are quite exquisite, most of them that we've been to. Obviously having some good playing partners, but also the challenging aspects of the game can also be fun in a roundabout way. What are your thoughts?
Well, golf is unique in the sense that, even though you have the structure of a golf course, on a daily basis, the game changes. You move the tee boxes, you can move the pin on the greens. It can be mowed one day, not the next. So those kinds of things make it a lot more fun and a lot more challenging, just from, the field changing on a daily basis, but also just the beauty of the course itself, the different grasses, the different types of grass, the trees. It's really cool to step back when you're actually on a golf course and just look around at what's out there. And some of these golf courses, the landscaping and the design, they're just beautiful places that they've built. And when you consider, what was there before and what they built out of it, it's just a really cool atmosphere. I know I got the chance to play in New Zealand, and we were playing a tournament round in one of the days, and I passed one of my fellow golf school guys on about 15. And he says, "Hey, how you playing?" I said, "I have no idea. Have you been looking at the scenery out here? I mean, every tee box was a postcard." I said, "I have no idea. I'm enjoying the heck out of myself. This is one of the prettiest places I've ever seen." And so that can bring, a lot of fun and a lot of great times to golf. Just, taking a look at the way they set the golf course up, the way they've, mowed it. Sometimes they'll do some crazy cuts and you can see some different designs and what's happening. So, it's really cool how the superintendents can really take the golf course and really design, and the way they cut it and the things they do. And sometimes they put the pins in some places that are maybe some might not find it as much fun, but I think I find it fun because it's a huge challenge to try to get the ball from where they placed it. So, it's golf is, to me, has always been a unique game. I played a lot of sports, but golf was always, fun for me because of the challenge of it. It wasn't easy to pick it up. Some of the other games, you could play tennis and, somebody can, not serve it right and you get a point. And in baseball, you've got some teams. But, you find in golf, it's a unique situation. You've got some boundaries set, and it's not an easy one to pick up at the start, but it's a great game to learn, and it's a lot of fun to play the game. So I think, just taking in what you see and what's out there on the golf course can make it even more enjoyable than it already is.
Again, some great points, Pete. They don't even have to make changes at the golf course to challenge yourself each time. And we, being individuals, we're uniquely different from one another. We play differently from day to day. Some days we play really well, some days not so much. And, what's interesting, too, if you're a little bit better player and you play a course quite often, maybe you're a member at a golf course, one of the things that my friends and I used to do to challenge ourselves to make it different. Everybody thinks, well, we'll just go back to the championship tees and that'll be a challenge. Well, no, sometimes actually moving up is a challenge as well because you're not used to playing it. If you're used to playing, a course that's 65 or even 7,000 yards and suddenly you move up to 54, it presents new challenges because it's a different club selection. So there's a lot of different ways you can play it without them having to do anything, playing from different tees. Obviously, in tournament play, you can't do that, but for just having fun, sometimes playing up from the very forward tees can present some different challenges, different shots, different angles that you didn't think of, depending on the courses and that. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And again, I can remember years ago, particularly, again, when I was up in Canada, quite often we would see early in the mornings as we were out working on the golf course and so forth, a small family of deer crossing out in one of the, the fairways ahead of us, and a lot of other different things. And of course, in Florida, it's not uncommon to see some alligators. Of course, you got to be careful of those, but in the ponds and some snakes, of course, you got to be also equally careful of those. But there's a lot of wildlife that a lot of times intersects on the golf course, and of course, a myriad of birds and things. So there's a lot of beauty in the golf course, I think, that people don't really appreciate because they're too focused on their game. So, take time, as they say, to smell the flowers and look at the scenery around you and just enjoy the challenges. Accept the challenges. You're not always going to win. But I think if you sort of do them all together, I think you'll come out on top. John, we want to also take out some of the mystery out of the game. And this goes to becoming a better player. Once a player learns how to control what happens to the golf ball, the more fun the game is. Once you're able to, again, not master, that's a little bit too much of a strong word, but once you're able to play a little bit better and be able to control what the ball is doing a little bit more, the element of fun can go way up. What do you think?
That's what keeps me in business, Ted. Keeps Pete in business too. It's learning what you're capable of doing with this, however many ounces or grams the club you have in your hand, understanding what to do with it. And yeah, it does with certain people exponentially increase the fun level. I've seen it the opposite, where it can significantly decrease the fun level. But what's interesting is whether you can control the ball or not, you can control yourself. And that really, to me, is the core essence of whether you're going to have fun or not. Whether you're on vacation, you're just out playing with some friends, the normal Saturday game. It is how you control yourself as to whether you're going to have fun or not. I can remember sometimes being on a trip where one round was just phenomenal, and the next day, because I played phenomenal the day before, the second day was awful. But I still had fun because of the people that I was around, and I wasn't going to let my inability that day to control the face of the golf club to prohibit me from having fun, because, as I said before, one person can really ruin it for people, but you can ruin it for yourself as well. As you get better, as your skills improve, does the game get more fun? Absolutely, because you can challenge yourself a little bit more. You're able to do some things that you weren't able to do before. You start surprising yourself. You start realizing what your potential could be. And the endorphins, that the rush that you're getting from that is more than intoxicating. And that's what fun's about. It is to get you involved and wrapped around something that you can become passionate about. Fun to me isn't necessarily a short-lived moment. That's a laugh. That's a joke. That's a chuckle. Fun is everlasting, and it's something that you can seek refuge in when things aren't going so bad. The thing that I tell my clients that put 100% of their fun on their ability to control the golf ball is I remind them whether they're robotic or human and the difference between the two. And when you understand that your emotion does allow you to have fun and robots with no emotions can't have fun, it sort of puts it in perspective. So I would tell people, hey, it's great to improve your skill, but understand how far that's going to take you before it starts inhibiting your fun quotient. And always go back to the reason why you started the game. It was to have fun. I think Pete will agree with this. Fun will allow you to be able to control the face of the golf club a whole lot more readily at times than you can with any kind of contrived effort that you would make.
Yeah, I think a lot of people obsess over it. There comes a point, we've even seen professionals who continually or constantly changing their golf swing. Nick Faldo comes to mind, even Tiger to some level. And again, for obvious different reasons than maybe what you or I might do. But again, they're always in pursuit of not so much perfecting the golf swing, but accomplishing certain things. So their main focus is on developing those fundamentals and those mechanics to the way that they want, and sometimes that can be all-consuming. Obviously, they're professional. They're there for a different reason. It's not so much just to go out and have fun. They're there. It's a job for them, and it's a career for them. But for the average Joe out there, if you will, I agree with you, John. I think that it's great to always want to improve, but don't get so obsessed over the improvement that you forget the reason you're out there, and that's really to have fun. So I agree 100%. Pete, I think another thing that I want to get your thoughts on here, we talked about, maybe, going out there and watching a golf tournament in real time, but the other thing is playing in a golf tournament, whether it be your local club championship, maybe it's, depending on your level, maybe it's an amateur event somewhere in your local area, or might even be competitive in your own foursome. But playing and creating some competition, I think, can be fun given the right circumstances. Your thoughts?
Oh, without get into some competition, it always makes it a little bit more fun. It challenges your game even more. It challenges who you are a little bit more. So, I'd recommend many things that you can play in. If it's with on a daily basis, but the tournament play is something that I would highly recommend that golfers get into, just because it's just a little bit different level that challenges. So I think that will make it definitely something that can enhance your game and show you where you're at and your skill even more fun than it already is. I want to say one thing, and I hate to interrupt this. We've got a monster storm on right now. I've got a tree down, so I'm going to have to run.
Yep.
It's from the garage, so I'm going to have to go out and my neighbor's knocking on my door, so I got to figure out what's going on. But I hate to cut it short, but we've got a monster storm that just ran through here, and so then I'm going to have to cut this a little bit off and see what's going on.
Yep. Not a problem. Pete, thank you as always. Be safe. Hopefully nothing serious is going on, but thank you as always for joining us on Coach's Corner, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Good talking with you again. Thanks.
Same here. Best of luck with that.
Yeah, it's. I know we just had a more than a stiff breeze go through here, so I can relate. Sometimes you're never sure if it's going to cut power or whatnot. So, and he was getting a little bit choppy, so more than likely they're having some issues up there as well. John, I'm going to save obviously this last question for you and I. If there's any thoughts that you want to add quickly about playing in competition, anything you want to add to what Pete was talking about?
I think Pete was, if he was phasing in and out, what he's basically trying to say is competition's healthy competition's good. It helps you understand where you are with your game. Competition can certainly get the best of you if you're not ready for it. And the things that I always recommend to people is the simplest competition you can have is with yourself to better a simple skill set. If it's, hey, I just made 3 putts in a row, can I make 4? That's as simple as competition can be. You don't have to go play a tournament. Play a tournament, pick the right skill level, pick the right golf course, pick the right time to go play. If you're not a cold weather person, why are you signing up for a tournament in December in a borderline state of Virginia or North Carolina when it could become crazy on you otherwise? Competition, pardon me for being just so cliche-ish, but golf is a microcosm of life. And that being said, what are you doing in your life, golfer, no golfer, that isn't to some extent somewhat competitive, whether it be your profession mostly, whether it be, hey, I'm going to have the best yard in the neighborhood is another competition you can think of there.
Right.
It's okay to be competitive, but let's put it all in perspective. And when you keep it in perspective, your thirst for the healthy competition increases, which can't do anything but improve you not only as a golfer but as a person, because the more you learn to handle adversity under pressure, which is basically a simplistic way of defining competition, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, and I think it's good in a lot of different ways. You're exactly right. Both of you and Pete were exactly right. And I think there's a lot of leagues that may be in your area that again sometimes particularly for women's, there's a lot of women's leagues open right now across the nation. So if you're relatively new, you might want to check with some of the local golf courses that in your area, or if you play at a golf course. Check and see. A lot of times they'll have different leagues going on through the week. It might be a regular Tuesday league or what have you, and they can be a lot of fun. And it's a great way, as you pointed out earlier, John, to meet people, to make new friends. And a lot of times, sometimes they will piggyback onto something else. For instance, some of them will have what they call a wine and nine. They'll play 9 holes and have some wine tasting as well. Mixed in there, or some other things that they've got going on. So it can be a lot of fun. And again, you're not out there on the pro tour necessarily, but you're having some healthy competition, which makes it fun. And ultimately, as you said, you're really competing against yourself and the elements that you're faced with. But again, I think it's fun to have some of those other extra challenges out there. All right, the final question, John, and again, this can be again, depending on how you approach things, can be fun as well. And that is understanding how equipment works, how the golf clubs work. Obviously, we always try to recommend as instructors that anybody that's beginning to play and wanting to play with any sort of regularity, that they get properly fitted. And I think when they understand how the equipment actually works, how it helps to propel the golf ball, can be actually quite interesting once you get to have that knowledge. But getting properly fitted as well can make it for enjoyment of the game as well. Maybe you could touch a little bit about that as we get ready to wrap up.
Sure. I can share 2 stories with juniors in particular, one that happened literally a couple of hours ago. I've got a new client prepping for a drive, chip, and putt, and the young man was talking to his father about which ball he should use, and he's getting totally enthralled in the marketing of the various ball manufacturers. And as couples, myself, my wife, the father, the mother, were out for some cocktails over the weekend. The father was telling me this story. I'm like, whoa, that ball's not made for him. And literally went out today and got my flight scope out and said, what balls do you want to use in this competition? And we tried a bunch. We spent about an hour trying about 6 or 7 different brands or models. Ones that he picked out, not anything I forced him into or suggested, or likewise the parents. and he got a neat little education about just how balls can help you and make things more fun. And he chose the right ball for his swing and swing speed for him to be able to create more ball speed, which hopefully equates to more points at his DCP sub-regional this Saturday. But then I'll also turn around with another junior, Declan Ward. He's one of my clients, longtime clients. Just by getting fit correctly with a professional fitter, gained 50 yards with his driver at 11 years old because the driver that he was in, which was a very common brand, very reputable brand, he had just outgrown. That the shaft technology was never made for a super competitive junior. And being fit with the right people, with the right equipment, it's changed his game. And nonetheless had some fun. With the junior this evening, it was fun to watch him have fun learning why different golf balls do different things. And with Declan, it was fun watching him have fun hitting it 50 yards further, his eyebrows just going straight through his head each and every time the first couple of months using this particular shaft in his driver. It was incredible. What's the theme of the story? Equipment, properly fitted equipment, can make the game a little bit more fun for you from this standpoint of view. It's one less variable you have to deal with, and it's the equipment best fit for you is going to give you the best opportunity for your skills to shine through. It's literally that simple. Now, that's not to say you couldn't go out with somebody else's clubs, rental clubs or whatever, and still have fun. Absolutely, you can. I think really what you're asking from a question standpoint of view is when you're trying to reach another plateau of fun, which goes along with the competition. And if everyone's really been listening, there's a theme to this word of fun that, Ted, you've taken, and it's from, hey, what's the foundational basis of fun, and where can that trunk of the tree grow in different branches with fun based on who you are, what you're about, and how passionate golf is for you. And that's certainly been a great discussion.
You know, I think, too, the other thing, you know, what people don't understand, you're exactly right. I mean, growing up when I was younger, before I was really ever properly fitted with equipment, you know, I had some hand-me-downs from Dad, and they certainly weren't what you would ideally like to have your junior start with, but it was a place to begin with. And I sort of equate it with sort of a humor aspect, and that is it's the same as or the difference in playing tennis with a properly fitted tennis racket or a fly swatter. One is obviously going to yield some better results than the fly swatter is going to. And, you know, when you have the proper equipment and it's there performing at its best, it's sort of going to make your life a little bit easier. It's certainly not going to hit every ball straight for you. You've got to do a little bit yourself. But when you're fitted properly, and not just with the type of equipment, but the proper flexibility in the shaft based on your ability, swing speed, and so forth, and golf ball, as you pointed out with your student, again, it can make certainly enough of a difference that you'll see some positive results, and ultimately, when you're seeing some good results, brings up the level of your enjoyment. So, there's a lot of different variables in this, and I wanted to talk about this discussion tonight because I think that, you know, as golf professionals, we see so many students come out and either they just absorb themselves so heavily in trying to hit every shot just perfect that they don't enjoy it anymore. They don't have fun. They don't, relax. I mean, we all hit some good shots. We all hit some bad shots. Even the best of the best fall into that category. But, we've got to remember that this is a game, no matter what level you're at, is you want to have fun, enjoy it. If you're not having fun, then it becomes very quickly like a task. It becomes repetitive, and it becomes so to the point where it's not enjoyable anymore. And I think there's so many great opportunities, as we touched on earlier, taking some great golf vacations just to go and have fun. Don't worry about the score. You made a great point earlier as Pete has as well. You know, you get out there and you know, sometimes you just forget about the score. Just go out there and hit some great golf shots and just enjoy the beauty of the golf course around you. But go out and have fun. You know, there's a whole new group of individuals that have come to this game of all shapes and sizes and backgrounds and so forth that want to just go out and give it a try. And I think that we want to make it as fun, as enjoyable as possible. Do we want to improve? Do we want to see them improve? Of course. But I think if we take it from a standpoint of keeping it fun first, I think the way we teach, I think the way they learn can be beneficial all the way around. So, John, great discussion tonight. I think we hit the points very well. I think hopefully people will be able to listen to this. And again, as I mentioned earlier to the folks, if you're not weren't able to join us from the beginning, you can go back later at the end of the show when the recorded version is available at blogtalkradio.com/Golf Talk Live, and you can scroll down to the on-demand section, and you'll find it there, and you can listen to its entirety. So if you miss any of the show, not to worry, you can listen to the recorded version a little bit later on. But John, as always, I'm going to give you an opportunity. Pete's not here, unfortunately, for him to do it, but John, if you want to take an opportunity to let the folks know how they can reach you, if they want to reach out, and if there's anything specific that you want to bring to the audience attention, now's the time.
Sure. Thank you. First off, I hope Pete and family and house and home are okay. Well wishes there, Pete. You can always reach me, John Hughes Golf, whether it's my website.com, my social media channels by the same name. Always guaranteeing a communication reply if you're getting in touch with me by 5 o'clock. A lot of growth going on with John Hughes Golf right now. A lot to be thankful for and announcing here in the very short distant future. But also want to remind people that if you can't see me in Orlando, you can get virtual coaching, live streaming coaching from me through my virtual portal called Instant Golf Improvement, which is instantgolfimprovement.com. Really neat way, in a very affordable way, to get some world-class coaching from me and some other world-class coaches from around the world. So I hope people take advantage of that shortly. And again, it's always an honor and pleasure, Ted. I appreciate the opportunities you've afforded me and looking forward to more in the future. Thanks.
All right, John. Well, as always, be safe down there in Orlando, and keep doing a lot of the great work that you're doing, and we'll be in touch soon. And don't forget, you can always see John in Golf Tips magazine. He puts together a great milestone article every issue. The next one's going to be coming out. We're working on it right now. In fact, he's already got his stuff submitted. The November-December issue will be coming out in a month and a half's time, and it's going to be part of this year will be, of course, the annual holiday gift guide with lots of goodies in there for those of you that like to do a little shopping, pre-Christmas shopping, and buy that golfer in your family that special gift that might just help their game. So you'll see John in that issue as well. And John, always appreciate your input and thoughts in the game and also on the show here. So I appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You guys do the same out there. Thanks.
Bye. All right, John Hughes and Pete Buchanan. Pete had to slip away there. They were getting some rough weather in his area, so he had to cut it short. But thank you, Pete, as well. And before I introduce my very special guest this evening, we're going to take a couple of quick messages from some of our sponsors.
This edition of Golf Talk Live is brought to you by Golf Pal, the best place to find only the finest in golf training aids and accessories. Get in on some great deals on leading products such as Down Under Board, Rapsodo, Golf Slingshot, and more. Visit golfpal.golf today. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. Golf Pal, we're serious about your game.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry. For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple-to-follow practice and game improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory, and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right, welcome back, everybody, and I'm very excited to have this evening's guest, Elliott Sullivan, is joining me here in just a moment. He is the Golf Operations Director at WinStar Golf Club in Oklahoma. He's been teaching as a teacher professional, at WinStar Golf Club since 2018. In 2019, he moved to his current role as Golf Operations Director. Before his time at WinStar, he was a golf professional at Prestonwood Country Club in Dallas. He's a native of Australia and has more than 16 years of competitive playing and teaching experience in the golf industry, and enjoys particularly teaching golfers at every level with a particular expertise in putting and, of course, the full swing. So we're going to talk to him about that and more as we welcome our very special guest this evening, Elliott Sullivan. Good evening, Elliott. Welcome to Golf Talk Live.
Yeah, Ted, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on tonight.
I appreciate it. Thank you, and always good to have somebody from down under on the show. I appreciate it, and I can hear that Australian accent coming through loud and clear, so thank you for joining me tonight.
Yeah, no worries. Hopefully everyone out there listening can understand me.
Oh, yeah. No, not a problem. All right, so Elliott, let me ask you, I told a little bit about some of your background, but maybe you can share a little bit more. And I always like to do this with somebody that's never been on the show before, just to give them an idea, the listeners that is, of really how you got involved in golf, at what age were you first sort of hitting the links, as it were, and what sort of brought you to the game? What was it about golf that really sort of caught your eye as a youngster?
Yeah, I kind of grew up playing some team sports, and my dad played golf. He introduced me when I was about 13, and I fell in love with it pretty much straight away. Had some good friends that played. They kind of took me around and helped me get that experience in there. And I think one of the biggest parts of it was that it was a game that I could rely solely on myself. Not that I didn't like team sports, but if it went wrong, it was kind of only myself to blame. It was a great bonding experience for me and my dad. And then, there's so many different opportunities in the industry as it is, and playing some college golf and professional golf, and it's a sport that you can really work in so many different facets of the industry. Whereas a lot of other sports, once you're kind of done with it after high school or college, or even some professional, whatever it may be, there may not be that many opportunities for you. So, I've loved the operations side of things for a long time. I mean, obviously very competitive and love playing, but operations for me is kind of really where the sweet spot is.
So let me ask you, just to continue on with that part of the discussion for a second more. Obviously, as did I got introduced to the game by my father at a very young age, and grew into the game as time went on. And obviously you went on to play some competitive golf, but then at some point you decided, you know what, I want to move into the teaching side. And that doesn't always happen. Usually either you continue on as a player, or somebody decides very early on that they want to be a teacher professional and sort of give back to the game. What was it, or what was the sort of point in your career that you said, you know what, I've played some competitive golf, I enjoyed it, I love that, but I really enjoy the teaching aspect of it. What was it? What was that sort of turning point for you, and what was it that really sort of got the juices flowing, if you will, for you in that area?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough, I think, as a player to learn pretty quickly that my best days were really good, but they weren't good enough. And in Australia, going through the PGA program there, we have a huge exposure to teaching junior golf, and that is kind of where the love for the teaching side of things kind of developed. I was in operations before I moved from Australia over here to the US, and when I got here, moved kind of into an assistant's position and coaching, and it was kind of just an avenue that was kind of opened up to me. So I wouldn't say that it was necessarily the passion of teaching that took me in that direction to start with, but the exposure that I had kind of through my apprenticeship, it's something that I've always loved, for sure.
And again, it's an area of the game I think that a lot of people, once they begin to sort of give back to a game that's given a lot to them to start with, I think there's a certain element of enjoyment. I teach as well, as did the previous guest, and there's just something about helping others develop their game, particularly if it's a game that you really enjoy yourself. And I think that, obviously you've seen it from both avenues. You've, again, played competitive golf, but now you're in a position where you're able to share some of those experiences that you've had and translate that into your teaching aspect of it and helping others to realize some of their potential as well in their game. So let's talk about WinStar Golf. As I mentioned, you began as a teacher professional with them in 2018. You've now moved in, as of 2019, into your current position as Golf Operations Director. Tell us a little bit about WinStar, and then we'll talk about, in general, the overview of it, and then we'll talk specifically about WinStar Golf, some of the things that you guys are doing there.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a great facility we have out there. We have two 18-hole golf courses designed by D.A. Weibering and Steve Wolford Golf Design. It's really a destination property, which we sit on about 280 acres, and resort-style golf courses. So it's pretty friendly to visitors to come out there. If you take it back to the tips, it can get pretty nasty, but we accommodate a wide range of golfers, which is great. It's really a destination property, and two golf courses at Scissortail and Redbud. Both have their kind of unique challenges. Redbud's a little bit more open. It's more of a prairie golf course, and Scissortail has quite a little bit more wooded holes. But yeah, and we've got a beautiful golf academy that we teach out of. So very, very fortunate to be where we're at. And we sit right next door to one of the world's biggest casinos. There's resorts there. There's pools. 20 different restaurants you can go and eat at. So people coming from DFW, from Oklahoma City, or from further away than that, it really is a destination that they can spend a weekend with their family or friends trips, play some golf and really experience what they want to experience.
Well, and it sort of really plays in very well to the discussion I had with the two gentlemen before. We talked about, what would make golf more fun, and it sounds like WinStar has really a win-win. It not only has two great championship golf courses, but there's a lot of other amenities around as well. So for those that maybe want to come to stay at WinStar that maybe are not necessarily in golf or don't maybe play a lot of golf, there's a lot of other things to do for them as well. So it's a great opportunity for people that are traveling as a family, let's say, that maybe their kids don't play golf, but the parents do. So there's a lot of different things that they can be doing and enjoying. And obviously the casino there is something for the adults to do, maybe as the evening progresses, and there's other activities that, of course, the kids can do. But there's obviously a lot there for everybody, a lot of different amenities, I guess is what I'm getting at. And the difference in the golf courses is unique as well. It sounds like Scissortail is more of a traditional style with more wooded enclosure on its fairways, if you will, and Redbud is more of an open, probably similar, as you said, prairie or even a link-style golf course. So there's a lot of diversity there as well at WinStar. You mentioned about the great golf academy there. Talk about that. There's a lot of technology involved. It's a pretty big facility. Why don't you open up the discussion there as to tell us a little bit about it first, and then we'll get into some specifics.
Yeah, so the academy is it's almost 5,000 square feet. So it's a pretty big academy. We've got indoor putting, and we use Sand Putt Lab, so Science in Motion, to teach and to fit with. We have two indoor enclosed sim rooms or teaching bays, which we use TrackMan V1, K-Best, and we have a gym. And then we have 10 outdoor undercover, which would be heated and fan-cooled for the summer, but undercover hitting bays that people can come out and hit if there's, if it's raining or if it's too hot out, or if it's too cold, we'll get the heaters on for them. So, it's a great facility to come work and get some instruction and then go back and work on your game.
And that's important too, because again, at your facility, you want to be able to offer that world-class golf academy because, again, sometimes people need a little tune-up on their game, or maybe they need a little bit more involved lessons. And having that technology at hand as well is a great way to really dial in on the specifics of helping somebody understanding their ball speed, understanding club face path, and so on at your fingertips. Makes it much easier for today's golf instructor to be able to get and isolate those areas that are critical. And I want to talk about you as well specifically because I know, and I mentioned it in the intro, that you take somewhat of a holistic approach, if you will, to the game and how you teach. And there's a couple of areas specifically that you really focus in. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, we see such a varying degree of skill level, whether it be someone that's never played golf before, or if it's somebody that plays golf just a couple of times a year, or maybe it's someone that's just on a family vacation that we may never get to see again. Teaching them from my perspective, it's how do we help them enjoy playing the game just a little bit more, so that they keep coming back. We don't want someone to come in and get a lesson and then they get frustrated with it and then they're done with it and they give the game up. When you see it so often, people come back, it's like, what, I got frustrated with it and I gave the game up for 20 years and I'm coming back to see you again. It's like that we want to get out of. So for me, it's how do I help this person enjoy their game a little bit more? It doesn't have to be super technical if we don't need it to be. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate for making this game, more enjoyable for everybody, making it more accessible for everybody. And, for me, it's the full swing. Obviously, we've got to get that. We can't not get the ball off the tee because everyone wants to hit the ball off the tee. And, getting it somewhat closer to the center line, getting it closer to the green. And then, putting is one of those things where, you don't have to have the world's best technique, but if you can repeat it every single time, you're going to be a good putter. So those two parts of the game for me are pretty special. But yeah, definitely a holistic approach. You can't have one without the other. But again, helping someone enjoy their game just a little bit more than they did the day before is huge.
Well, and I think it's also equally important too, because again, as instruction evolves, not just with technology, but in other areas as well, we're really starting to see that everybody's different. Everybody, how they play, how they swing, how they approach the game is entirely different. For years in golf instruction, we sort of, unfortunately, the industry kind of put everybody in the same box, and we try to teach the same methods, and sometimes what works for one may not work for another. So it's really, really important to sort of have that holistic approach and really, again, dialing in on the specific individual and saying what's going to work best for them. Maybe they're a shorter player, maybe they're a taller player. Maybe they don't have as much flexibility, as an example. So, there's a lot of variables that come into play, and I think as we develop and become more proficient in our task, it's becoming easier to understand how we can help players on a more individual basis. Having said that, and I mentioned, of course, the technology, you guys have some favorite equipment that you're using or have tried as of right now. What's some of your favorite equipment that you guys like to work with?
Yeah, so in terms of technology, teaching equipment, TrackMan is a fantastic tool to get people to kind of get that first step of it, at least understanding the golf swing, or even understanding kind of ball flight and club parameters. And if they can get that first step, it's a huge step forward in understanding the game as a whole. Understanding why a golf ball goes off to the right or the left, if it's a club path or if it's club face or if it's whatever it may be. That's definitely one of my favorite tools. I think it just provides so much feedback that somebody can see and really immediately plug that into how do I make a physical change to make something happen differently to the golf ball. So that's we nowadays as instructors it's hard to live without. But yeah, that's got to be my favorite.
Well, and I think now as we see, the earlier golf professionals didn't have the same technology that's available now. And again, with a multitude of apps that are out there, you're able to gather a lot more information in a very short period of time So doing things like assessments, are much different. Typically, in the past, you would stand on the range and, watch them hit a few balls, but now you're able to get through the information through apps and other devices as well, gather even more information that typically, and that's not to say that, a good trained eye isn't good, but I think the technology has certainly taken it to a whole new level. And I think this is why you're seeing particularly a lot of the younger instructors coming up now are very, very excited about it because, one, they like to work with the technology, but also they're able to get that information, they understand that information, and are able to make an assessment and get the person on track much quicker, perhaps, than maybe what they might have 20 years ago. So it's very, very interesting and exciting to see
Absolutely.
how it goes. And it sounds like you guys are right on the cusp of a lot of the leading technology. And obviously that is why you've got a top-notch golf academy. Elliott, the Olympics just happened, in fact, just wrapping up. And golf, of course, has been now part of the Olympics. This is the second time that golf has played a role in the Olympics. A lot of people didn't think it would ever happen and weren't too sure whether it should happen. But I think it's working out well for the game. Give me your thoughts about the events that just happened and what you think it means for Olympic golf in the future.
Yeah. I mean, I was, when I heard it was coming back to the Olympics, I was a little on the fence about it. I didn't really know how that was going to play out. These guys are lured by so many different, tours and the prize purses and things like that. And I was just totally into it. I mean, I thought it was just such a great, even though there wasn't any fans there, I thought it was so great for the exposure for, the game in general. A lot of people that may not even have viewed any golf before, but tune into the Olympics and see some golf on TV. I mean, that's great for us. And, I would have loved to have seen the Aussies do a little bit better, but 2 golds for the US, that's pretty impressive. But also, on that is that so many different countries get to participate, and so many people that may not have had the opportunities to play in PGA Tour events or European Tour events, because they're so good for their country, they can go out and they can play in the Olympics. And, it's not a tournament they have every year. It's once every 4 years. So,
right.
I mean, for every other sport that's in the Olympics, it's maybe the pinnacle of their sport. Maybe not the NBA basketball, but, for track and field and for swimming and things like that, that's the pinnacle of their sport. So, putting it in a different perspective, and this is only a tournament we get to play in every 4 years, and you may only ever get to play in one Olympics. That's pretty special for those guys that went out there and girls that went out there and medaled, and even just participated, honestly.
It's interesting that you say that because, for years, I'm obviously older than you are. I've watched the Ryder Cup for quite a number of years. And for many of those Ryder Cups, those earlier Ryder Cups, the U.S. dominated. And then all of a sudden, when great players like Seve Ballesteros and some of the others that came along that really dug in for Team Europe, we saw a sort of an onslaught of international players seem to turn the tides for Team USA and put them back on their heels. And I think, and I want to get your thoughts on this, and the reason why I'm bringing this point up, we're seeing a lot of other countries that have developed national teams, which of course the U.S. does not have. Do you think that has really played a very positive role in helping a lot of these other countries develop good quality? I mean, we're seeing it coming out of Korea, we're seeing it coming out of obviously Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and so forth. We're seeing a lot, and of course China, strong players coming out of these regions where for decades we didn't really see very many. Do you think having these national teams and now having the Olympics as a sort of a carrot, if you will, for international golf is helping to really raise the level of the game as well in an international context?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, I can speak from a little bit of experience. In Australia, we have the Australian Institute of Sport, which has a golf program, and then each state has their own Institute of Sport. And, you get on those golf programs, and the structure that they have in place for those golfers or for those athletes is just so good. in developing their skills and developing them as athletes. And, what, it may not work for everybody. Some people may be dedicated enough to go out and do their own programming and work their tail off to get all the way to whatever tour that they're aiming for. But for a lot of players that may not have the access or the access to world-class coaching or programming, where they get their diet in shape and they get in the gym and they become full-fledged athletes. I think it's a great kind of training ground or proving ground to get these athletes to the absolute of their performance, for sure.
We're seeing more so on the ladies tour, I think, more of initially an impact than we have been on the men's tours, primarily because, again, a lot of these international groups, if you will, are churning out top quality. I mean, we're seeing it, again, on the LPGA and on Symetra, of course, as a lead-in to the LPGA. I have the pleasure of interviewing a lot of the Symetra players and some of the LPGA, and I'm just seeing an onslaught of international players. And I'm wondering if you think, and I'm just curious on your thoughts on this, because, again, the U.S. does not have an international team. Do you think that with the development of a lot of these international teams all over the globe, and now that golf has become really a global game, that the U.S. might look at doing something very similar? Because again, I'm using the Ryder Cup and that as an example. U.S. has, again, dominated for so many decades with a lot of their players, but you look at some of these other nations and their golf is developing very, very rapidly. And again, we see it more on the women's tour right now, but I think eventually the men's tour is going to catch up and you're going to see a lot more international players dominating the PGA Tour as well. What are your thoughts here? Do you think this is something that the U.S. might want to take a look at?
I mean, yeah, I think that they have dominated for so long, and it would be really interesting to see, if they don't move to a program like that, what happens to their golf. I think that, looking at how many of the top, X amount of players in the world, there would be, the majority of those would be American players. Maybe not so much on the women's tour now, and it could well be because of those programs. It could be those national teams that they're really pushing them into these programs and developing them as athletes from such a young age. That could be where it's at. I think the level of competition for junior golfers in the U.S. is just fantastic, and I think there's no other country that I'm aware of that has a college system that you can go in and be as competitive and play college golf and still study and become an adult and kind of learn what it's like to travel and to play and to tour. So I think that's a huge part of it as well. So Australia, we don't have college sports. We have, you go to school and you go into school and that's it. And if you want to go play golf, then that's kind of on your own time. You can't go be a student athlete. So, there's something to be said for that as well. So I don't know if it's necessarily that's the perfect route to go would be a national program. But it's obviously producing some pretty good results from, various different countries. I mean, again, just from experience, Australia, Mark Leishman and Cam Smith, they were both in the Australian Institute of Sport, which is our national training program. But you look at someone like Adam Scott, who went and played a year of college golf. So it's it's a really interesting point. And to be honest, to answer your question, I don't know. I mean, it'd be a great look back to see, if they didn't do it, where they are in 5 or 10 years in the tours, and if they did do it, well, they're going to dominate again. So I don't know. That's a good question.
Well, the reason why I asked that is because, if you look at where golf is going, and again, it's obviously a very individual sport, but the Olympics is more, again, even though there's individual competition, it's more of a team environment. And, the reason I use the Ryder Cup as an example to sort of lead in with, if you look at how over the last decade or so, how Team USA has fared against Team Europe. Team Europe has come in literally as a team. The players were they gelled much better. Again, it was just the environment that they've sort of come up in and developed their skills. And Team USA tended to have more of an individual mindset coming in. So I'm just wondering if maybe getting into more of a team format, again, you're still playing individually, but into a that sort of a mindset might work very well, not just in a Ryder Cup, but also for the Olympics, because you've got to have that. You can't just come in. I mean, we've seen, again, in the Ryder Cup when Phil and Tiger were paired off a few years back, they didn't play so well together. They're very individual. They didn't do very well. And some of the players, again, do extremely well. But Europe has predominantly, I think, for many, many seasons now, just seems to gel a little bit better. So I'm just wondering if that's something that team or U.S. in general might want to take a closer look at. Let's talk a little bit about world golf. We've seen a lot happening over the last year and a half because of the pandemic, as an example. Some positives, obviously, in golf. We've seen a major uptick in the number of rounds that have been played over previous years. We've seen a lot of new golfers coming in, into the fold, if you will. I'm sure you guys have seen, despite some of the COVID restrictions, I'm sure you guys have seen quite a bit in your facility of new golfers. And, as you mentioned, golfers that hadn't played for, 10, 20 years, suddenly, coming back anew. So what are your thoughts here with the future of the game? What do you see happening? And where do you see it going as it transitions, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road? What do you see happening with the future of golf?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, we've seen a huge uptick in rounds played, across the board. The industry as a whole has kind of seen the same thing. And honestly, I think that, we as golf professionals need to work really hard in retaining the golfers that we've either just gotten back or have just come in that are new, work hard on keeping them playing golf. I really hope that it does stay that way. And, what a great sport. You can play it until, basically you're immobile. There's not many other sports that you don't have to have somebody you're playing against. You can go out and be socially distanced and be just as social as you want to be. I think a lot of even younger golfers, not junior golfers that are getting into it from a super young age, but, the 20 to 30-year-old golfers that are coming in for a social round of golf on a weekend that, wouldn't have done that before. That's huge. And I think that if we can retain those guys, figure out how we make it fun, make it, pace of play, try and keep it, enjoyable in that perspective, and don't close ourselves off to who can come and play. I think access is a huge part of it, and people feeling like that they're welcome to come out and play golf. We're a public facility, and we have from the youngest of golfers to the oldest of golfers come out and play, and we hope that everybody enjoys their time out there, and we try and make it a 5-star experience for them. And so we're going to work really hard to try and keep those people's interest and their business and keep them in golf. And that that a lot of that stems from instruction and helping them play better golf, and then hoping that they can enjoy their golf a little bit more. I think, obviously sometimes nowadays it's a little hard to get a tee time on a weekend, but figuring out how, maybe we don't have to go play 18 holes. We go play 9 holes or, whatever that might look like. I think there's going to be some changes in the industry in that perspective.
Well, and you're right on, spot on, by the way, Elliott. I think also, too, we have a different breed of golfers coming up than when I was growing up. I'm, late 50s. That gives you an idea of the demographic I'm in. There was more of that country club mentality. You join a club, you belong to a club, you play the club. Now with so many great resorts and so many great opportunities like WinStar to get out there and play and have a new experience, is offering different challenges, new challenges to your typical golfer. And even more so now with the millennials coming up, they're looking at golf a little bit differently. They're not really interested in the traditional golf. That doesn't mean they don't want to go out and play 18 holes or even 9 holes. But joining a specific club is not necessarily something that's, at least at this point, is in the forefront. They're looking for a whole different experience. I know you're familiar with Topgolf as an example. They're looking at bringing that generation of golfer, exposing them to the game in a different way. Is that something that you think moving forward, and I'm not just saying Topgolf, but I'm just using them as an example. NextLinks is another company that's taking sort of technology and making golf a little bit more interesting for this younger generation coming up. Is that something that you see that, in addition to our traditional formats that we've done for years, if we really want to continue to grow the game, that we've got to start bringing in new ways of approaching golf than maybe what we typically have done in the past? Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, with the technology that we have available to us in being able to play virtual golf and PlayStations and Xboxes and things like that have always been, when I was growing up, that was a huge thing. And now you can play golf against your friends on those systems and things like that. So I think that's definitely a huge part to it. And yeah, I think that we just have to kind of adapt to the industry needs and kind of keep capturing, I think, what those people want. I think some of the funnest golf that I've played in recent years was a pitch and putt par 3 golf course with some of my buddies, and it wasn't that it was a long golf course. It wasn't a traditional golf course, but it was some of the funnest time that I've had on a golf course just because I was with my best friends and we were just having a good time. So I think that there's, enjoyment factor has to be there, that the welcomeness, people need to feel welcome to be getting onto the golf course and not feel intimidated to be able to go out there and play. And I think, what we might see is more of those, country clubs that are struggling for membership, because there's a lot of people that don't want to pay for memberships.
Sure.
That strictly, make them play at that one golf course. We'll see a hybrid. We'll see semi-private golf courses where people can pay to be a member and they'll play as much golf as they want there. And some people will be able to have a daily fee and it'll be, you can play here a certain amount of days or whatever it might look like. So, adapting with that industry need is going to be huge to retaining the golfers that we've just gained.
Yeah, because again, everybody's looking for a different experience. The millennials, as I said, are looking at golf a little bit differently than perhaps you and I have in the past. I know as I said, you're younger than me, so you obviously have probably even a slightly different viewpoint than what I've had over the years. But I'm starting to recognize now. We've talked about growing this game for many, many decades, and certainly we've seen a lot of growth in women's golf. And I'm sure you guys have noticed that at your facility as well. A lot more, not just young women, but women in general coming out and wanting to play and wanting to be part of this great game. So there's a lot of different directions that we can really go into without really giving up some of the traditional aspects of it, but just adding to it. So in other words, it's kind of like a great dinner menu. You're always adding new entrees, adding new appetizers on, that sort of thing. And I think that's where I see the real growth in the game is not just taking the same old menu, having a new menu with some freshness, some updates along the way, and still offering some of the old favorites on there as well. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. You said it perfectly. That's exactly what it is. And again, just catering to those people's needs. And yeah, I mean, I think for women's golf, the social aspect of it is huge. Women's league golf and things like that. If we can be more open to that and just, great different kind of programs like Operation 36 is a great one to help get people out there on the golf course. Mm-hmm. And yeah, anything we can do to get people on the course, keep them on there. Driving range is great, but people need to spend a little time there, but it's not the golf course. So get people out there having fun, playing golf, and it looks different for everybody. I certainly enjoy going out and playing 18 holes, but you can have just as much fun if you're playing 5 holes or if it's 9 holes or whatever your time constraint is, and whatever that may look like for you, whether it's playing with some music on. I'm not talking
mm-hmm.
the loudest of loud music where you're disrupting everybody else, but that's the traditional part of it where
right.
where it's it may not have, that wouldn't have been appropriate when I was growing up playing junior golf, but nowadays it's kind of a ritual. So changing to that industry need and accommodating those people to help them enjoy their time just a little bit more is I think of vital importance. Well,
and you're exactly right. This is again, not to sort of just zero in on one specific group, but this is really what the millennial golfers are looking for. They're looking, for that sort of golf plus experience. They enjoy, traditional golf too, but they want to get out there and they want to have fun. They want to, it's an opportunity for them to meet and sort of mingle with their fellow millennials, if you will, and meet new people. And it's a very social thing for them. It's not, typical go out and play with my business associates, doing deals on the golf course. That's still always going to happen. But it's something entirely different to some of the younger golfers coming up. And I think that the industry as a whole really needs to, embrace that because it's like every industry, changes happen, and either you change along with it or you stagnate and unfortunately go out of business. I want to ask you, and we're going to go back to WinStar, but we're going to go with you here for a second. When you drive up in the mornings for work, what is it that you look most forward to, and what's a perfect day for Elliott?
Oh man, that's a good question. Obviously, no clouds in the sky. That's one thing. But just people being happy. It's seeing people out on the range. You get to wave to people in the morning that may be regulars or maybe first timers out there, and if they're having a great time and they're enjoying their time at WinStar, that's all that I can really hope for, and making sure that they can go home happy as well. Enjoying their day on the golf course and leaving with a smile on their face is huge for me. And if we can help you improve your golf as well, even better.
And you've got a great group of golf professionals there that work alongside and help out there. You guys obviously have, again, you're a very well-equipped academy in that. Do you have, what's sort of your overall agenda? Obviously, you want to improve and help the golfers improve in that, but do you go in with a specific mindset? And I'm going to try to clarify this so I make sense. Do you have a specific agenda when you guys open up in the mornings and that? What is it you're really trying to accomplish there? Obviously making it more enjoyable for the average golfer in there, but do you have sort of an overall agenda? This is what we really want to do. We want, when people come to WinStar's Golf Academy, this is the experience we want them to have.
Yeah, I mean, we say, the WinStar experience, and that is, it's first class. I mean, it's for a public access facility. There's nothing close, within probably, I'm going to ballpark it 100 miles. There's nothing public access that anyone can just walk in off the street and experience what they do out there with us. We custom club fit. It's kind of tour level club fitting and instruction. So, really our goal is kind of on the flip of that is, what's our student's goal? And that's kind of where we start, whether it be they're here for one lesson and their goal is X, or if they are kind of local or semi-local and they're going to be back multiple times, we can have a lesson package drawn up for them and our end goal is this, and we're going to help you achieve that. So, just providing that kind of well-rounded experience of improvement, enjoying your time, and experiencing something that you may not have experienced somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I think it all boils down, you're exactly right, it all boils down to the experience that you want people to have. You want them to come, and obviously you want them to have a good experience, and it sounds like you guys have a first-class facility all the way around, from not only the golf courses to your golf academy, but to all of the other amenities as you touched on earlier. And again, you want, when people come through the doors, figuratively speaking, is you want them to sort of have that wow factor, say, look what they got here. There's all kinds of great things to do. I can play some great golf. I can get some help with my game, and obviously can have some entertainment and fun along the way. So it's an overall experience that you really want to accomplish in that. Are there anything specific that you guys are working on right now towards the future? Any special events coming up that maybe you want to share with the audience? Things that maybe WinStar is going to be doing from golf perspective that you guys are looking to incorporate in the future? Anything that's coming up that you want to share?
Oh, we're always working on something. Right now we're remodeling our clubhouse, so that's going to be exciting to unveil once it's kind of all done. In terms of golf events, we've got some Oklahoma and Texas junior golf events that are going to be coming out to WinStar, and that'll be exciting to host. But we stay really busy. We've got a lot of great partners that come through and support us, and a lot of different golf tournaments that we host. So to say that I'm excited for one, I wouldn't go there. But no, we're very fortunate for the people that do come out and support us, and the business relationships that we have.
And if the listeners want to get more information on WinStar, where can they go? What's the website they can go to and check out if they're planning a trip maybe out your way?
Sure, yeah. So WinStar.com, WINSTAR.com, and then you'll find us under the amenities tab. You can kind of read up about what's going on out there at the golf course. You can book tee times online. You can send instruction requests, all that kind of good stuff. So, yeah, WinStar.com.
Perfect. Well, Elliott, I want to thank you very much for joining me this evening on Golf Talk Live. It's been interesting to learn about what you do and obviously learn about WinStar as well. It looks like I haven't been there yet, but I'm going to make a point of coming out and visiting you guys here hopefully in the near future. And I think it's a great facility. It looks like it's a lot of fun. You guys have got, again, some world-class championship golf courses and a world-class golf academy there as well. But thank you very much for joining me this evening on Golf Talk Live, and I appreciate it. And much continued success, and enjoy the rest of your season, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Ted, thank you so much for having us on. We certainly appreciate it. And, yeah, come on out and visit us. We'd love that.
All right, sounds good. Elliott, thank you very much, and have a great weekend.
Likewise.
All right, that was my very special guest, the Golf Operations Director at WinStar Golf Club, Elliott Sullivan. Again, you can go to WinStar.com, and all of the amenities are there. But if you go under the amenities tab, you can learn more about the golf specifically, and you can reach out, as he said. There's contact information there if you're interested in lessons and setting something up with their great golf academy as well. He and his rest of the crew there are certainly going to be happy to assist you in any way. And it does, as I said, look like a great facility all the way around. Lots of things to do there besides some great golf. So hopefully you check it out. Go to WinStar.com to get more information. All right, I want to thank the guys earlier, John and Pete, for doing a great job. And again, just got a message here a little while ago from Pete, and as he mentioned, they had a rough storm going through there, and he had to cut it short towards the end, but just wanted to let me know that he was safe and nothing major, but he looked like his power was fluctuating a little bit. But anyways, I want to thank the guys for joining me here on the show. Always do a great job in the Coach's Corner panel. And again, a special thank you to this evening's guest, Mr. Elliott Sullivan, the Golf Operations Director at WinStar Golf Club. On that note, I will see you next week with another great panel on the Coach's Corner and another insightful interview with my very special guest. I hope you'll tune in. God bless everybody, and have a great weekend.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. We'd like to thank this week's Coach's Corner panel, and a special thank you to tonight's guest. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. And be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on Golf Talk Live, send Ted an email at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.